What's going on, Assassins? It's Darkstrider, and a lot of people have been saying and suggesting, hinting, believing that Ghost of Tsushima is going to be a crossover with Assassin's Creed Shadows. And that would be pretty cool. It really would. But I'm sorry to burst your bubble. I have several reasons and opinions as to why that would never happen. First of all, we know that Ghost of Tsushima is a Sony property, and honestly, I just don't see them doing a crossover with, Ubisoft on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Would it be cool?
We should split up.
Absolutely.
I'll draw their attention while you
Would it happen?
I'm not leaving your side.
I highly doubt it. I really do.
need to find more
Not to
allies.
say that Sony or
warriors.
Ubisoft will play hardball,
Sensei
but
Ishikawa.
there are other factors involved there as well, such as the fact that a lot of Xbox players don't actually have any background on what's going on with Ghost of Tsushima. Of course, if you are one of those universal gamers that does every system, that plays every game, then you know about it. But like the die-hard fanboys, they're not going to know anything about it. And it sucks, but I think that would be like a major factor, giving a character to a bunch of other gamers, and it's my IP, it's my property. It's just, I could see that being a fight. All right, now that's one thing. The other thing is, as far as the dates go, they do not line up. So Assassin's Creed Shadows is supposed to take place from 1579 to 1582. All right, that is when it takes place. Ghost of Tsushima takes place in 1274, 305 years earlier than the start of Assassin's Creed Shadows. So that is a massive problem. So unless you're telling me that Jin Sakai's great grandchild meets up with Yasuke and Noe, I'm going to say that that's an improbability. I don't think that they're going to do something like that. I think that'll be a little too silly, honestly, or a little too involved. Now, I know what you're going to say. I know exactly what you're going to say, but Darkstrider, what about Ghost of Yotai? Because Yotai takes place over 300 years after the events of Tsushima. So it would be around the same time period. And you're right. The events of Ghost of Yotai would take place between 21 and 24 years after the events of Assassin's Creed Shadows. So at around that time, we'll say let's say Noe is in her 20s during the events of Shadows. She would be in her 40s during the events of Ghost of Yotai. Now, is that possible? Absolutely. We've seen Ezio absolutely kick all kinds of butt as he got older and whatnot. So I don't see why we couldn't have, a crossover between Ghost of Yotai and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Again, they would be older. They would have to do something where, Noe and Yasuke would have to have physically, visibly aged. That's what we would have to do. So again, I don't think they would do that either. It would be like 20-something years after. I'm pretty sure Ubisoft is not going to put the resources into making the character look older, unless it's like a DLC. It's like a separate sort of entity that would happen, like after. They would have to put a lot of resources into it. So I don't think that they would do that. The other thing is, once again, you're crossing IPs, you're crossing properties, and I don't see Sony willing to play ball in that way. Not to say that Sony's a hard ass, that, they're just not into it, that, they wouldn't do something like that. I don't see, they would need some sort of benefit as well, and I just don't see the benefit. Possibly if they do a crossover event where there's a DLC for Ghost of Tsushima to have the characters from Assassin's Creed Shadows come over, that I could see. But again, there's that 20-year gap, and you need to really figure out a way to tie that together. It would be easier in Yotai if they had, Noe and Yasuke show up there. It would probably be easier because they're older. But in reverse, to age your own characters in their own game, it would be a little tough. I don't see. I mean, obviously, it's just a couple of coding differences and whatnot. But I don't see it. I don't see them aging up Noe and Yasuke again, unless it's like a separate DLC, a standalone DLC. If it's something like that, I could see it happening. But again, it would be kind of hard because of, properties and stuff like that. I don't know that they could do it. It would be like if, in the middle of a game that is on multiple platforms, that they put Master Chief in it, and now you're playing it on PlayStation, and, yes, Master Chief is a more recognizable character. He's been around forever. I don't think that there are any PlayStation fanboys who don't know who he is, but, it would just be weird. It would be weird to have that character on a competitor's system. Even though a lot of people will argue that Xbox is going third party, that all their games are ending up on PlayStation and whatnot. Again, I'm not going to console war. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to put into perspective what it would be like if you move these characters around. And I don't see them doing it, honestly. I really don't. I see, too much trouble, too much negotiation, and, I don't see it. Now, could the voice actor for Jin Sakai play a samurai who is not Jin Sakai in Assassin's Creed Shadows? Absolutely. Could he do a voice for a character in Assassin's Creed Shadows? Absolutely. Could they say, hey, this guy, he was the voice, he did this, this is sort of a crossover, but not really? Sure. Could he play an ancestor of Jin Sakai? Yeah, but it's a stretch. I think it would be way too big of a stretch. But again, I'm not the programmer, I'm not the game designer, I'm not the coder, I am not the storyboard designer, I am not the negotiator. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are. So now, I'll turn it over to you guys. What are your thoughts? Even with the time differences, do you think that we could have it where it's like Jin Sakai's great whatever grandfather meeting up with Noe and Yasuke, maybe him having his own clan and talking about his clan and whatnot? Would that be a crossover? Would that work? Would you want to see that? And as far as the different consoles and everything, do you think that people would care if it's like a PlayStation character or not? What are your thoughts on this, and what other thoughts do you have on this? Who else would you like to see a crossover with? What else might make sense? What other third-party samurai games could they actually put into this? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Other than that, that's all I got for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you like and subscribe. It helps this channel out an awful lot. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. And until next time, take care, be good, stay safe, take care of each other. I'll see you guys all in the next one.
Yar yee!